Oh, you know, sorry, I had this on mute. What's going on, everybody? What's up? What's going on? Good morning or good afternoon now, wherever you are. Noah, what's going on? First off, I want to thank everybody that's been showing me love on that new breakdown that I did the other day with Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. Deuce, what's up? Vitalich, what's going on? Little Noosh, what's up? Big up, big up. Yeah, I want to shout out to everyone that's new to the channel. I picked up a lot of new subscribers the other day. Shout out to my old school day one subscribers too. I see a lot of you are still around, still hanging out. Been here through the whole timeline, the whole time I had this channel. You know, shout out to everybody. Houston's in the building. Yo, I've been reading all the comments. I got a lot of comments, man. I read every single comment on that last video. I read all the comments from the post the other day about Lomachenko and whether or not he's overrated. I wanted to make that post because I knew I was going to talk about this in this video here. You know, I think it's been time, you know, that I address, you know, the whole whether or not Lomachenko, and I've addressed it before, but I wanted to speak on it this week leading up to the fight. And by the way, the fight is this Saturday. It's going to be on ESPN, on regular ESPN. Now, if you want to watch the prelims, it's going to be on ESPN Plus. So you have to be a subscriber to ESPN Plus, which is like $4.99 a month. And that starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Saturday night. And then the main card is going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern. I will be doing live commentary that night for all of the fights, even the pre-fights. So I will be on here covering it, you know, like I normally do on Saturday night. I will be here the entire time with you guys. All right, so we should have a lot of fun like we normally do. You know, talk everything boxing and do commentary on the fights, you know. So we should have a good time. It should be a great night fight. And I think this is going to be a good fight. I think stylistically, this is a great matchup between the two. You know, it's a really dope matchup. It's not going to be a boring fight. I can't see it being a boring fight. I mean, both fighters are really, really explosive. Both fighters are technical, but both of these fighters are aggressive. It should be fun. It should be fun. All right, so look. The video is about Lomachenko, whether or not he loses. And I say Lomachenko, whether or not he loses, only because Lomachenko is the star here. Okay, he's the pound-for-pound fighter. Teofimo Lopez is not. Teofimo Lopez has much more to prove. So we're speaking on Lomachenko. I see a lot of people talking about whether or not Loma wins or not. Loma is supposed to win. He is not the underdog here. Loma should be able to beat this kid. But this is boxing at the end of the day. All right? This is boxing, and we've seen crazy things in the sport. You already know. If you guys been around for 5 minutes, you will know that this sport, anything goes down. Anything can happen. All right? So people saying he's overrated. Whether or not he's overrated. If he loses this fight, do you think he's overrated? This is the question I asked the other day on my the channel in the community section. This is a post that I made. Is he overrated if he were to lose this fight? This one fight, is he overrated? Now, I wrote down a little list. I got a list here that I put together. And these are the things that I've heard fans over the last few years that say that he's overrated. This is what they say. They say he's overrated because of his first loss. All right? To Orlando Salido. And the fact that ESPN don't even mention it. They try to ignore the loss. Okay? Which they have. It's true. Whether you like Lomachenko, you don't have to like him or not. People try to act like the loss doesn't count, that it shouldn't be there, that he never lost. And we'll get into that. We'll talk about it in order. The second thing is the franchise championship. A lot of people feel that that title was only given to him so he can avoid Devin Haney. We're going to address all of this in this video. Okay, this is my little list that I made here, though. Is he overrated? All right. Was a franchise champion given to him? Did he request this title in order to avoid his mandatory, right? The interim champion, Devin Haney, at the time. All right. Is it because of the racial and social issues why he's being pushed by Top Rank and ESPN? Is it because of the color of his skin? Him being quote unquote white? I've heard that a lot. The great white hype. Is it because of that? Is it solely because of his race? He's getting pumped. It has nothing to do with his accomplishments as a fighter, just because of the color of his skin. You know, we're going to talk about that. Is it because of, and I had to add this, Joe Rogan, the big time, you know, the MMA analyst, the podcaster, Joe Rogan, saying that he might be the greatest boxer that ever lived. He said that out his mouth a few years ago. Is it because of comments like that, which has created this whole Lomachenko is overrated thing? All right. Is it because of his pound for pound status that people would put him over a Terrence Crawford or a Canelo Alvarez or whoever? His pound for pound rating, a lot of people feel that he's up there, or ESPN put him above Crawford because of the color of his skin, solely because of that. Is it because of that? These are all of the things that I've heard over the past years. All right, the past few years, we've spoken on this, but it continues. All right, so I have to address it. And last but not least, his resume. Overall, his resume. People just think that, you know, with all the accomplishments and the fights that he's had, they still feel that he doesn't really have anyone good on his resume. You know, people don't respect the people that he's faced up to this point. That's what people are saying, you know? That's what people are saying. And I've read it. I've made videos about this. You guys know one of my highest viewed videos I've ever done was the Guillermo Rigondeaux fight. How much I did not like that matchup. Let's get into it. What did I say back then? I said Rigo was being used. He was being used by people that hated Lomachenko back then. People were using him. People wanted Rigo to win because they hated Lomachenko. They didn't like what was the hype that he was getting. They felt that Rigo should have been getting that same hype by Bob Arum back a few years back when Rigondeaux beat Nonito Donaire. We remember that. Top Rank wasn't really pushing Rigo like that back then. And people will remember that. And I remember that. I remember it. I think Bob Arum and Top Rank should have definitely did a better job pushing Guillermo Rigondeaux. Should have been having fights down there in Miami, you know, like Lara does. Lara has his fights down there, not the big ones, but, you know, he's had some PBC fights down there. I mean, the Cuban community is heavy down there in Florida. So I think Bob Arum should have definitely pushed Guillermo Rigondeaux harder, you know. But Rigo's style is just not for everybody. It's not. Rigo's style is not for everybody. It's for me. I love Rigo. I love Lara. You guys know I'm big of a Lara fan. Now, if you've been here a while, you guys know I'm a big fan of Arislandi Lara. But his style is not. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. You know, so I don't want to say it's all race related, but I do believe that Top Rank could have done a better job with Guillermo Rigondeaux, especially coming off a win against Nonito Donaire. You know, that was a big win. Make sure you guys hit that like when you join in. Hit that like, please. We got 53 viewers so far. Let's try to get those likes up to 40, please. Let's hit that like button. All right, let's get those likes up for me. Thank you. All right. Yeah. You know, but let's go down this list. Let's go down this list here. Let's talk about the first loss. Let's talk about the Salido loss. Now, I think the media has done everything they could to try to cover up that loss. I think they have shown, you know, there was a night where they were showing, I don't know if it was they were covering a Lomachenko fight or they were at least talking about Lomachenko. And I saw the post on where I think they showed Lomachenko's record, but they didn't have it as a loss. They had it in the draw section or something like that. It was weird. I remember that. All right. But let's talk about that loss. People tend to go back to the loss. Now, the loss happened. It happened. It's on his record. It was his second professional fight. He fought Orlando Salido in his second professional fight. He didn't get dominated. He got low blowed about 20 times, but he didn't get dominated. Now, did Lomachenko win the fight? I don't think he won the fight. I don't think he won. I think the referee did a terrible job. I think Salido was cheating, but he was taking advantage of the fact that the referee was not calling him out for these low blows. I also think as experienced as Lomachenko is as a fighter overall, he was inexperienced as a professional because he should have been complaining about those low blows and taking advantage. Like he didn't need to go Bernard Hopkins with it, but you get what I'm saying. As an experienced fighter, he would have been pressing the issue of those low blows. He should have been pressing that issue in that fight. That shouldn't have continued for that long. But that was his inexperience. And you can tell, watch the fight. Even watch a little earlier the rounds. Lomachenko he wasn't as aggressive as he should have been. He was taking his sweet time. You know, and I think that was the one fight that I think Lomachenko, he wasn't as confident as he was in the fights after that fight. So did he win the fight? In my eyes, he did not win the fight. But he tried to get the rematch going. The rematch didn't happen because Salido didn't want the rematch. And he never got to avenge that loss. So people use the Salido loss. Listen, I don't like the fact that people try to act like it didn't happen because it did happen. All right, I've heard people say he's undefeated. I've heard fans say that. So we know what happened. He lost a fight, but we got to hold that against him for his whole career. Let's be real. Do we not think that Lomachenko is better than Orlando Salido with all that he's accomplished? Are we gonna ride this out for the rest of his career that he lost to Salido? Let's be real. So I know there are some Lomachenko extremists out there that want to pretend like that loss didn't happen. I get that. But let's just not act like the Salido loss is like end all be all here. Like because he lost to Salido, he's not pound for pound or anything like that. That's not right. That's not what you do. You know, whether he avenged the loss or not, let's not act like it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not fair. People lose all the time. Then he goes into his third fight. Fights an undefeated Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr., how many times have he won? How many title of defenses has he had since he won the title? He has not lost since he lost to Lomachenko. He was undefeated. Gary Russell Jr. was undefeated. That's a big win. Not only was he undefeated, but Lomachenko ends up tying the all-time record of winning a title in the fewest fights. He tried to beat the record by beating Orlando Salido. That didn't work out. But in his third fight, he was able to tie the record. That's an all-time great accomplishment. That's an all-time great accomplishment. 396 wins as an amateur, 1 loss, and he avenged that loss as an amateur. 2-time Olympic gold medalist. 3-time champion, or 3-division champion in the fewest amount of fights. And tied the record of winning a title earlier than anybody else have ever done. He didn't have to develop as a professional in order to achieve that. He won against a legit fighter only in his third fight. That's not overrated. You can't be overrated and do that. You can't. It's impossible. You cannot achieve those things and be overrated. And if he wins Saturday night, he's going to be undisputed. According to Mauricio Solomon, because, you know, he's been fucking up that whole WBC thing, right? He's been changing the rules on the fly. Like when the first thing with the franchise, let's talk about it. Franchise title. This thing starts up with Canelo, followed by Lomachenko. How long? Do you guys remember when that was going down? They was pressing this guy with this guy, the WBC. They didn't have it all down packed from the beginning on what this means. This franchise bullshit was something on the fly. Now, the question is, was it Loma or was it the WBC? We've heard 2 different things. The WBC made this decision. Was this their decision? And it was, or we've heard that Lomachenko is the one that requested the title. Regardless, was it a Devin Haney duck? Was it a duck? I made videos about this before. Was it a duck? I don't think so. I don't think so because Devin Haney was interim at the time. Wasn't he out? Wasn't he getting surgery? Was he next in line to fight anyway? Or was he supposed to fight Tio? I thought he was already supposed to. I thought Loma was already supposed to fight Tio. You know? I don't believe he was due for his mandatory obligation at that moment, at that very moment. No. At the end of the day, Loma had just won the WBC title. He just won that title. It was vacant, and he beat Luke Campbell to win that title. He won it in the ring. Just like Tio won it against Richard Comey. These 2 should be fighting first. I've said last year, Tio, or whenever he beat Comey, Tio deserves the title shot or the unification shot against Loma before anybody, including Devin Haney. Franchise title is WBC's fault. But according to Solomon, Lomachenko is the full WBC champion. So basically, they turned the full champion, the interim champion, into the full champion, but back down to the interim champion because right now Devin Haney has the full title, but it's not really the full title because the franchise champion is still ahead of that. You know, that's the WBC and their bullshit. That's not Lomachenko's fault. That's the WBC's fault. You know? So let's move on. Racial social issues. Great white hype. Is he the great white hype? Is this all because of him and his color of skin? Is he getting pushed? I've heard the same thing with Gennady Golovkin. I heard the same thing with Tyson Fury recently. Is he getting pushed solely because of the color of his skin? Now, what I'll say to that is, look, fans are going to like fans are going to like fighters or athletes in general because they have similarities in their features. They might be from the same place. You know? It doesn't faze me at all. Whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Mexican, Filipino, from the Philippines. I don't know how you say Philippine people. But whatever you are, if people want to support you because of race alone, then that's their business. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Filipino. Thanks for correcting me. Who cares? Who gives a damn? You know, it's like Lomachenko is their fighter at the end of the day, and Top Rank is going to push him. He has a very exciting style. They're going to push him regardless. He has a very exciting style. I mean, look, Floyd Mayweather, all kind of people are paying to watch him fight after fight. His pay-per-view numbers at one point was, he was easily hitting 1 million per fight, him and Pacquiao. Lomachenko is nowhere near his level as popularity here and support. So what are people upset about? I just don't get it. Like, what is it? Why is it because he's just white? Now I get people might be a little upset at the Joe Rogan thing. Joe Rogan said that a few years ago. So at that time, Lomachenko didn't accomplish as much for him to be saying that he might be the best fighter that's ever lived. Okay, well, Joe Rogan is just one person. So what? Joe Rogan is just one person. If he feels that way, I understand that he has a huge, huge following. If he feels that way and that's his opinion, then that's on him. That's how he feels. Who cares? Who cares? He thinks he might be the greatest fighter that ever lived. You think there's other fighters that weren't coming up that people didn't say that for? People still think that prime Mike Tyson would have beat anybody. It's a lot more people that said prime Mike Tyson would have beaten anyone over Lomachenko is the greatest of all time. There's a hell of a lot more people saying that. And what did Mike Tyson prove? He didn't prove that. He didn't prove that. And Mike Tyson, my favorite fighter all time. But what do Mike Tyson fans say? We always make excuses on all of his losses. Let's be real. Like, we all make excuses for anything that he did not accomplish. You know? We blame it on who? We blame it on his promoter. We blame it on passing away. We blame it on the drugs, the women, the partying, everything. We blame it on everything but Mike Tyson. But we'll sit there and double down on the fact that, you know what? If Mike Tyson was at his best, he would have lost to no one. But there's no proof of that. Everybody has a prime. We could say that for everybody's prime. We could say that for anybody. Nobody stays in their prime forever. There's no way to prove that. You know, it's like, come on, we got to start thinking, guys. We got to stop. Like, I know, like, people are extreme emotional when it comes to this sport. I get it. I understand. People are very emotional when it comes to sports. I get it. But we got to think here, too. This guy, Lomachenko, got legit accomplishments. legit. He won against good fighters. He got good, solid wins against good fighters. You don't beat undefeated Gary Russell Jr., Nicholas Walters. All right? You don't beat those guys. How long was Linares defending titles for? He hadn't lost for 6 years. He was holding down the lightweight division for a minute. Lomachenko comes up and stops him. But Linares was a legit guy, a bigger fighter, a good boxer, a very good boxer. You don't beat those guys and become overrated. Were some of those wins were like, some of those wins, like maybe a few of them after Gary Russell, they weren't all that good, like all that big. I'm not gonna sit here and act like the Sosa fight or the Mariaga fight, or I'm not gonna act like some of those fights were the biggest fights ever. I'm not gonna do that. But he won against legit fighters, legit championships, legit championships. And he's unified in this division. He moved up and he's currently holding 3 of the 4 majors. And if he wins Saturday, he's going to have all 4. That is not overrated. You can't do that and be overrated. You just can't. You just can't. So you don't have to like him. Just saying he's overrated. Now, if he does lose, let's talk about it. If Lomachenko loses Saturday, is he overrated? No, again, he's not. Now, depending on how he loses. If he loses in a very competitive fight on points, or, if it's competitive and he gets stopped at some point, it is what it is. At some point, you're going to lose. Every fighter lost at some point, except a couple. If he loses, he loses. That doesn't change how I feel about him. Now, if he gets knocked out in dramatic fashion, we have to sit and wait to see if he can bounce back from that, because he already taken a loss before. And we saw what he was able to do after the Salido loss. All the stuff that I said that he's done was after the Salido loss. He could have lost to Salido and disappeared. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people don't recover from that loss. He may get knocked out by Lopez and never recover. Like, look what happened to Roy Jones when he got knocked out by Tarver. Roy Jones was never the same after that fight. So we may get that. But was he overrated overall? No. I mean, like, these fighters that I've named in this video from the past, they were still extremely talented fighters. They still went down as some of the greatest of all time. Yeah, I saw that. I read that. You've been sleeping on the channel. You woke. All right, got you. I'm glad I got your attention. Yo, some of the greatest of all time, they got stopped. They got knocked out. They got dominated. And they were able to come back. Everything that he accomplished was after the Salido loss. He's only 32, guys. He's not 35, not 36 years old. If he were to lose Saturday, he could still do more work. You know what I'm saying? He could still do more. He still beat all those other guys that he beat. So I don't understand what's the big deal. We got to stop this undefeated crap. All right. I know it really came from Floyd. All right. Because everybody started using it, and then that's how they started marketing the fights on here. They started marketing the fights by saying this guy and this guy is defending their undefeated record. No, you're not defending anything. You don't hold any titles. You're fighting. That's what you do. You're a boxer. You fight. That's what you do. You're not defending nothing unless you're defending a title. Guys take losses. It is what it is. But everybody is so scared to lose. They so scared to lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, that's why I love MMA. Because their ranking system, they're mandatory. You always have to fight. If you're a champion in the UFC, you always have to fight the mandatory. Your next fight is always the mandatory. You know why? Because you're fighting the next one up. You're not going down and fighting some other random dude. You're not doing that. You always constantly have to fight a mandatory. That's why none of these guys are undefeated over there. And if they are undefeated, they don't stay long because it's hard. You really got to fight the best of the best all the time. There's no cherry picking. Like you rarely get a cherry pick situation when you're a champion. When you're a champion, you don't get them. You know, that's why people love that sport. This is why people have told me, you know, because I used to do, you know, MMA videos. And people used to tell me, yeah, man, do more MMA videos because the boxing is whack. Like, they straight up, like, I don't watch it no more. Boxing's whack. Because people go over there and they're actually over on that side, they have to constantly fight the best. You know, the whole issue over there is that maybe some of the fighters don't get paid as much as they should. You know, but time will come when it's still a young sport. That sport is what, 30 years old now? You know, or at least that organization, almost 30 years old. So anyway, yeah, Lomachenko, I don't think, win or lose, he's not overrated to me. Win or lose, he's not overrated at all. I think the only thing, if he were to lose a fight, I think the only thing we'll be sitting back and waiting to see how he bounces back from the loss. That's it. That's it. Will he bounce back? You know, especially if it's a dramatic loss. You know, if he loses the fight, it's one thing, but if he gets knocked out cold and, you know, it's early in a fight or something like that, I can see that being affecting him for the rest of the career. You know, especially someone that has been so what's the word? So successful throughout his entire boxing career, even as an amateur. So I can see that hurting him. Yo, but if he wins the fight, it's an amazing accomplishment. It's another amazing accomplishment. As many accomplishments as he had, is another amazing one. You know, and I think he's very unique. You know, people shouldn't hate on him because he's a very unique fighter. And the way that he fights, the things that he does, I'm not saying he's for everybody. I'm not saying if you don't like him, you're a hater or anything like that. He's not for everybody, but he's very unique. He's very exciting to watch. You know, the things he's doing there it's just, you're not going to get that with everyone. There's a lot of great fighters out there, and there's a lot of different styles out there. You know, I love Canelo. You know, I love watching Terrence Crawford. You know, I love, you know, I like watching Usyk fight. He's another guy, you know, there's a lot of similarities there. You know, I love watching Manny Pacquiao. Who's another very unique talent. He was very unique, just unique, man. You know, his style, how do you prepare for it? Floyd Mayweather, another one, you know, Floyd Mayweather, one of the greatest. Roy Jones. You know, I think the only thing with Loma is just that a lot of his success is based on his reflexes and his athleticism, you know? All of that, you know, it plays a role. You know, so when he is slowing down a bit, you know, I don't know if he's slowing down yet, but if he is going to slow down at some point, that may play a role. You know, these super athletic guys that can't move the way they used to, it might play a role later in their career. You know? But yeah, man, I think he's gonna be all right. I think, and if he wins, you got to give him credit for beating Young. This is the first time. So I wanted to say this too. This is the first time I heard like a lot of people feel, both on a professional level, not just fans, but professional fighters, trainers. This is the first time that going into a fight that I felt like Lomachenko a lot of people feel that Lomachenko is going to lose this fight. He's fought good fighters before, but going into this one, I never heard or read like the comments and the views and opinions that I've heard like the way I've heard in this fight. You know, he's fought good fighters. Luke was good. Lenarvis was good. Gary Russell was good. Nicholas Walters. All these guys were good. But I never heard consistently, like heard people like, yo, I think Lopez, yo, bro, I think Lopez is going to knock him out. You know, I think Lopez is going to put him to sleep. A lot of people have said it. And like I said, not just like fanboys. I'm talking about like legit dudes, you know? Noah, appreciate it. Appreciate it, Noah, for the super chat. Yeah, man. So if Loma is to win, and if he is to outbox this kid all 12 rounds or end up stopping him, he gets crazy credit because Lopez, in my eyes, is dangerous. And if he destroys Lopez and he whoop his ass all around the ring all night long, he gets super credit. And if you still hating on him, you just a hater at this point. Because Lopez is legit. He's legit. He's dangerous. He won this. He won his title by knockout in the second round against a guy that held not a vacant title. He beat that champion. Lopez is dangerous. If Lomachenko is able to make easy work of this kid, easy work, and stop him, what? And you still hating on him? Come on. Like, you just a hater at that point. You know? But we'll see. We'll see Saturday night. It should be a good time. It should be a good time. You know, again, shout out to everybody that's here. Shout out to everyone that's just been supporting, you know. New supporters, old supporters, everybody. Anyone that's donated to the channel, I appreciate it. Anyone that's been watching the commentary, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of good channels out there that's been making live commentary, you know, videos too. If you're here Saturday night watching the fight, you're going to have a good time. Shout out to everyone too that is not able to watch the fight because they're in a country where the fight is not being shown. And they just want to hear my commentary. That's dope. Really, truly support you guys. Black and Brown Boxing. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Everybody that's tuning in, you know, we should have fun Saturday night, man. And we'll see how it goes. As far as Lomachenko and like what is he gonna do if he wins, loses, you know? I know there's no like a rematch clause. Like they do the rematch clause thing with every fighter now, which is really annoying kind of because they get held up in these contracts and then they still have mandatories most of the time. And then it becomes a whole big mess. So I'm glad there's like no like rematch clause and stuff like that, you know, because sometimes it just gets in the way, you know. Sometimes when a fighter loses, we don't always need a immediate rematch whenever a champion loses, you know, or a big name loses. It's not always a upset. You know, I mean, if Lopez wins Saturday, it is an upset, but not like a huge upset. It's not a huge upset. You know, if Gabe Rosado beats Daniel Jacobs, that is an upset. You know what I'm saying? That is a really big upset. That's an upset. Lopez got a legit shot. You know, he got a shot. So he gets a lot of credit. I already expressed how much credit he gets. He gets a lot of credit if he beat Loma. But Loma gets a lot of credit too if he beats him. Simple as that. You know? Make sure you guys check out the breakdown. If you haven't watched the breakdown yet, make sure you watch the breakdown. I don't see Loma going up. You know, I've heard things about him possibly moving back down to 130. at some point. I don't know how I feel about that. Because I think at 135, if he's able to become undisputed at 135, I think 130 would be like you already there. You picked up a title there. I mean, just stay at 135, I mean, especially if you're able to dominate this kid who was a big guy at 135, move it down to 130. I mean, you have Burchelt down there. You got some of the guys, a lot of guys at 130 right now. You got Tevin Farmer. You got a few fighters down there, but it's a step down from 135. Hopefully, at some point, fights that I still want to see. I would love to see Devin Haney. I would still love to see that. I would love to see Tank Davis. If Ryan Garcia is to beat Luke Campbell, I would love to see that. And I would still love to see the Mikey Garcia fight. I'm not going to let that go. I'm not going to let that one go. Those are fights that I want to see from Lomachenko if he is to win, or regardless, win or lose. I still want to see these fights. Tank, Haney, possibly Ryan, Burchelt, and Mikey Garcia. Mikey. Yeah, I know TMT is trying to age out Loma. I know what's going on with that. They're not confident in Tank like they should be. But Tank is good. But yeah, man, make sure you guys check out that breakdown. As far as the fight, anything that I left out in that breakdown. I mean, these breakdowns, I actually watch my own videos. Not all of them, but some of them. Oh, man, Charles, thank you. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate it. Big, big, big donation. Probably the biggest I ever got so far. Appreciate it, bro. Real love. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. He's going for Tio. F. Lomachenko. Like I said, I think Loma's gonna win. I'm picking him to win the decision, but I am rooting for Tio. I want Tio to win because he from New York. I got to ride with my guy. I got to ride with the home team, the home crown team. But I think Loma's gonna win by decision. I just don't know if Tio is ready yet. He may be. I think he's ready. I don't know if he's gonna win though. And if Tio loses the fight, I mean, it depends on how he loses. Like I said, it's all about what they do after the fight. There's no way to prove, what they're gonna do after the fight. But this is a great fight, man. And I would have paid. I would have gave them 70. If we talk, let's be real. I would have gave them 70 for this. I'm that excited for the fight. I would have gave them the $70. I would have gave them. This is a gift, because we're getting pay-per-views that are not good. That are not good at all. And this is a good fight. This is a good one. As far as the breakdown, if you didn't watch the breakdown that I did, I basically said Tio by knockout or Loma by decision. All right. I didn't bring up, and shout out to the subscriber that left me the article talking about Lopez being aggressive. They think that Lopez is going to come in and be aggressive and try to bully Lomachenko. Come forward, use his size, dig to his body. That is the one thing that I did not address in my breakdown. That possibility of him doing that. I spoke more about Tio being a counterpuncher, trying to land that short right hand, and I didn't talk about maybe Tio coming in and bringing us that that aggressive style, because to be honest with you, I haven't really seen it yet. You know what I'm saying? Now, he does come forward against his opponents, but he's looking to counter. You know, so I don't know if he's going to step up the volume here. I don't know if he's going to do that, but maybe we'll see it. And that's why I said in the breakdown, there's a lot of unknowns with this fight because we haven't really seen that much from this kid. We don't know what he can really do. You know, there's a lot of unknowns when trying to break this fight down. I was studying fights and rewatching fights that I've seen several times before. And I'm trying to figure out, man, like what is some of the, these are the obvious things that I know about the two, but there's no more that I can see because I've seen all of his fights, including amateur fights and stuff like that. I've seen all of his fights. And Tio, I've seen all the fights that actually matter. But there's not enough there. There could be some unknowns, you know, and what if Tio is fighting on the level of his opposition? You know, there's a lot of things that we haven't seen from him that he might expose to us in this fight here. So maybe he will use his size. A lot of people has been leaving comments saying they're looking at this fight, excuse me, like Canelo versus Mayweather. I remember that, and that was one of the very first breakdowns that I done on my YouTube. I came around in that year, and it was one of the very first breakdowns that I did. And I remember thinking that Canelo would have used his size against Floyd and walked Floyd down. But Canelo, at that time, it was shocking because this was many fights ago. When you really think about it now, we've seen Canelo mature as a fighter. You know, Canelo was probably like 23 at that time. Canelo tried to outbox Floyd because up to that point, we knew Canelo had power. We knew he was bigger. But what we knew is that he was a counter puncher. He's a boxer that happens to have power in both hands. But he's not looking to bully, at least not at that time. Now he's developed more. Now he's coming forward, being aggressive, attacking the body and countering and slipping, and he's doing a whole lot of things now. He could change up the game mid-fight. He could do whatever he wants. He's very diverse, much more diverse than what he was against Floyd in that fight. But with Tio, we haven't seen that version of him yet. So a lot of people feel like this fight is going to go the same way because Floyd was just a superior boxer against Canelo. Canelo has some good counters, but Floyd out-countered his counter. Floyd was just on a different level. He's at the best when it comes to counters. Look what he did with Marquez, who was a good counter puncher too. And all the other counter punches he fought, you know? So yeah, Tio could switch it up, but we don't know. There's no fight to see because he didn't fight any really superior boxers at this point. You know, no elite like boxers. You know what I'm saying? No one like that with crazy technique or anything like that. Loma's the first. Lomachenko is the first. So maybe we learn something about him. Maybe he steps up in this fight. Maybe he could surprise us and shock us all and become pound for pound, not number one, but pound for pound top 10 overnight. Maybe. We'll see. But a lot of people think the fight is going to go away the same way that the other one did. Which is how I kind of see it, you know? But there are people out there leaving comments that says, I think this is going to be Roy Jones versus Tarver too. People saying that. We're going to see. This is what makes it good because you got people that's like in the comments, like that's going at each other. You know, this is not like no typical Loma fight where you just know he's so good. None of these guys could beat him. They might give him a little trouble. You know, Linares gave him a little trouble. What's this guy? Luke Campbell was tough. Luke was tough. Luke was tough. It wasn't easy. Loma took a lot of hits there. you know. But this fight here, people are clashing in the comments under my videos, under other people's videos. You know what I'm saying? So it should be dope. It should be dope. It should be a good time. Man. All right, so I'm gonna go through some of the comments, man. I want to see what you guys are saying. Let's chop it up for a little bit. See what everybody's in here saying. And as far as Devin Haney, I would love to see him fight Haney next if he is to win. You know, give me 1 second. I'm gonna get some water. All right, forget the water. I got me some juice. All right, so I want to chop it up with you guys. I already said what I had to say about this whole overrated thing. I overall think that it's impossible to be overrated when you accomplish these things. You get me? You feel me? I think it's impossible to be overrated. But yeah, Devin Haney, winner should fight him just to clear up the whole WBC thing. I want that to be cleared up. I hope Loma, if he is to win, clear that whole thing up. You know, T.O. says he's going up. I don't think he's staying at 135. Regardless, win or lose, he's going up. So we can forget about that. But Loma, if he is to win, he should fight Devin Haney just to clear up that whole WBC mess, because we don't want that to linger on, you know. And the winner of that fight will be the legit best. You feel me? All right. 60-40 fight. Yeah. Do I trust T.O.'s composure? I don't trust T.O. yet. Because I don't know. Because he hasn't proven yet. Like I always said that I question his endurance. And I also don't know how he's gonna deal with the pressure, you know. If he can handle it, we'll see. You know, but he seems very confident. And this is why I almost picked him to win this fight. I almost selected him, to be honest, because I like his confidence. All right. But it's different when you're actually in there. You know what I'm saying? Well, people will be surprised how easy it will be for Loma. Well, listen, if Loma can make it look easy, I just don't know how you can keep hating on a dude. You know, if he can make it look easy, how can you keep hating on him? What was the toughest fight Loma was ever in other than Salido? Luke Campbell? Nah, I would probably say Jorge Linares. Linares dropped him. Linares, did well with the body, countered him a few times pretty well. I like what Linares was doing. Linares was not an easy win. He had to really dig to get that stoppage. He had to. You know? I heard Shakur talking crazy about Loma. He said he washed him. I mean, if that's what Shakur said, I mean, Shakur actually sparred with him not too long ago. I like Shakur Stevenson a lot, by the way. I like his skills. I like his defense. All right, but I don't know how his power is going to look at 135, because his power is not that strong down at 126, and he's at 130 now. You know, but Shakur is really, really talented. I think my only issue with him, if any issue at all, is just I don't know how. But when he finally moves up and fight a really aggressive fighter at some point in his career, that's the lack of power is what I'm worried about, if anything, right now. But his boxing IQ is insane for his age. Really, he fights like a really, really mature fighter. You know, how guys like, even like if you look at Floyd and you think of, pretty boy Floyd, and now he transitioned to Money Mayweather. With Money Mayweather, he was a lot more mature, more defensive. Shakur is fighting like a Money Mayweather. He's than more so than a pretty boy Floyd. Even though pretty boy Floyd was good defensively too, he was more of an action fighter back then. Is Broner overrated? His youngest 4 division champion. Broner being overrated. What I'll say about this when it comes to Broner being overrated. Broner winning 4 titles and 4 divisions is great. The problem is with that is Broner never fought the best in any of the divisions he won titles at. Okay. He lost to the best fighters he won titles. He lost to the best fighters he fought. And he never unified. So winning divisions in multiple tires is good. It's great, actually. But it's like how I was saying about Leo Santa Cruz the other day. It's like, okay, you could keep moving up, but when are you going to fight that other really good guy in the division? If you're just going to go up, collect the title, and kind of keep it moving to the next division, that's cool. But we want you to fight the very, very best just to prove yourself. But I wouldn't call Broner overrated, really, because like no one puts Broner up in like no high level at this point, or even it's been a few years now. Like no one really puts him up there like that. I mean, he's lost a lot of fights. He has his draws, and then he had his gift wins too. We can't forget those. I think when it comes to him being overrated, if he's overrated in any way, I think it's because he keeps getting huge opportunities against like a Pacquiao when he really didn't do much before to get a fight like that. You get what I'm saying? So if he's overrated, it's probably because of the opportunities he'll continue getting based on his mouth and what he says and how he sells a fight instead of what he actually does in the ring. I think what he does in the ring it fails in comparison to what he says to build up a fight. Someone told you that Loma makes the same mistake Roy does. What is that? What is that mistake? I don't know. I don't know. I cannot answer that question on the spot. I can't answer that question on the spot. I mean, when it comes to those two who are freak athletes, I can say that their speed and their reflexes made them do things that the typical boxer couldn't do. No matter how high their IQ was, they just weren't able to move the way those two can move. But I don't know as far as the exact mistake that they both make. I don't know. Maybe one of you guys in the comments can answer that question. I can't think of the same exact thing they both do that is very similar. They don't fight the same. I don't think Haney has a shot against Loma. Not a good stylistic matchup. I think Haney doesn't have as much of a chance of beating Loma as Tio does. I think Tio has a better chance. But I think Haney could beat Tio. Yeah. Loma versus Haney is a pay-per-view fight for sure. I mean, we got this fight without a pay-per-view. So, but if they were to fight each other on a pay-per-view, I would buy the pay-per-view. I would. Yeah. I would buy it. I'd rather see Haney fight the winner of Garcia Campbell, which I would love to see too. I would like to see that fight too. But because of Haney's WBC status, I will want that done just because I want to eliminate any more talks of Loma ducking him. I listen, whoever wins the fight. I don't care about that. But I would want that whole debate to disappear. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to catch up to there's a lot of comments here. I'm not going to be able to get to them all. Yeah, my guess is they get too comfortable and start playing with their opposition, which is true. Which is true. But for Floyd, I mean, not Floyd, but Roy never really played with Tarver. I don't think Roy was playing with Tarver. That first Tarver fight was very close. It was very competitive. Roy did struggle in that first fight. A lot of people feel that Tarver won and Roy got a gift there, and that's why they had a rematch. But I don't think Roy was playing with Tarver, you know, when he lost. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he was playing with Glenn Johnson either. I just think like Roy was on the downslope, you know, going up the heavyweight and trying to come back down to 175. I think that took a lot of him too. On top of the fact that he's approaching his mid-30s, you know. My problem with Broner is that he never figured out that all he needed to do is stay at 140 or 135 would have been golden. He would have. Yes. I agree with you. I don't even need to read anymore what you just said. I agree with you. He started getting lazy. He was blowing up in between fights, and he kind of forced himself to fight at 147. You know, and I agree with you. You know, because even Paulie gave him. Paulie won at least 5 rounds. You get what I'm saying? Like, that was a very debatable fight. And it wasn't a good fight because Broner wasn't active enough. Volume was way too long. And Paulie was hitting him with light touches all fight. It was a weak fight, you know? I think Teals is more dangerous fight for Loma than anyone else he's faced. Yes, I agree. I don't think he has the best resume, but I think he is the most dangerous from a stylistic standpoint. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I think this fight is a big deal. You know? Roy Jones Jr. was a natural freak of nature. Loma is a result of training, practice, and repetition. There really isn't a comparison between the two of them. Roy was literally special with gifts from God. And you know what? That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Not going to argue that at all. You know, I was watching a little bit of Roy the other day. Who was I watching him fight? I was kind of skipping around. I was watching a little bit of his, Montel Griffin first fight, which was actually a competitive fight. You know, people forget that fight was actually one of Roy's tougher fights. I'm not talking about the rematch or anything. You know, I'm talking about before the disqualification. It was actually a pretty tough fight for Roy. But I was watching some of that, and you know, Roy athleticism was what made him so great. He was skillful, he was talented, but there were better boxers out there, you know? I mean, even old Hopkins beat old Roy, because old Hopkins still had those tricks, you know? His defense, and he just knew how to win the fights, you know? Shout out to Roy Jones Jr., by the way. I love Roy. Roy's my second favorite of all time. Just discovered the channel. I'm digging it. Which do you feel is less likely, decision by Tio or KO by Loma? I'm leaning. Oh, more likely. That's a good question. That's a very good question. A decision win by Tio or a KO win by Loma? I think I'm gonna roll with. I think I'm gonna roll with a decision win by Tio. I'm gonna roll with that. I think I don't have nothing to back that. But if Tio actually does well, I say that to say this because if Tio actually does well using his size and being the aggressor, and unlike we've ever seen against Loma, since the Salido fight at least, going to the body and being successful at doing that, making Loma look a little vulnerable, I could see him winning, especially if he's even able to drop Loma at some point. I can see him winning a decision. I can see Loma stopping Tio as well, though. I can see him doing it. And I think if Loma is to win and stop Tio, I think it's gonna be because he's killing his body. I think Loma stops him because he's attacking his body. Yeah, I'm either way with that, I could see Loma just stopping him and making him quit because he's just attacking the body too much, I could see Tio, who's not really has much experience going 12 rounds, losing because he's just frustrated and exhausted, But I have Loma winning by decision. That's my actual official pick. But I think it's Loma decision or Tio by knockout. If Loma loses, he was not as good as we thought. Not true. I don't agree with that. If Loma loses, Tank will never fight him ever. If Loma loses, Tank will more likely won't fight him, actually, in my opinion. All right. All right, guys, I'm about to break out. It was good chat. I have to get going with my day. Make sure you guys are here Saturday when I do the commentary. I will be here at 7:30 p.m. Eastern to start breaking down the pre-fights, and then I will do coverage on the main fight, obviously. But I should be here about 7:30 p.m. Eastern to do the live commentary. I'll do the live coverage, and I'll do commentary of the fight and everything like that. We'll chop it up like we normally do, We have fun. We're gonna have some fun Saturday. All right, so I'll definitely be here. Make sure you guys hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. All right. Salute to everyone that's donated, everyone that's left comments the last few days. Old followers, new followers. All right. Shout out to the BX. Shout out to the Bronx. Everyone that's from everywhere around the world that watches my shit. Shout out to all of y'all. All right. But I will be here Saturday. All right. So have a good day. Oh, and I will be posting up. I already did a video about Wilder and Fury. I just didn't post it up yet. So be on the lookout for that video. All right. And peace.